Welcome to the annual State of the City address with the Honorable Mayor Tim Cant. I'm Lori Dubose, manager of WABF Radio, 1220 AM, Fairhope's radio station. Thank you for joining us today. It looks like almost a full house, which is exceptional because it is such a beautiful day today. We appreciate you being here. The ceremony is only about an hour or less and very informative. At this time, we would like to introduce Pastor Barkley Gannon with the Way Community Church for our invocation.
Let's pray together. Father God, we love you. God, we thank you for another day. Lord, I pray that you are here with us now in these moments at the state of this address. And Father God, I pray you give wisdom to the council, Father. Thank you for these men and women that serve. God, I pray you continue to bless them and pour wisdom in them as they serve the interest of Fairhope. God, thank you for Fairhope, God. I pray you continue to pour out your blessings and favor upon Fairhope, God. And we thank you for what you're going to do in the future. God, we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And now, if you would please stand for the presentation of the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to the Gaston Lee VFW Post 5660 Honor Guard for that. And now we'd like to welcome the lovely ladies of the Dogwood Trail Maids. And you may be seated. And then I'll introduce you. Thank you, ladies. At this time, I have great pleasure in introducing to you the Honorable Mayor Tim Cant.
Well, thank you, Lori, and I think the Dogwood girls who are leaving, I think March is their last official. They actually change over with the new Dogwood Trail group, I believe, in March. Isn't that right? And I think they're all, the new court is sitting over here on the table to the left. So we know we'll have a group, great group coming on. So thank you all for being here. The VFW, it's amazing, and of course I know Dave will probably get a little excited if I mention it, but I do have to mention it. They're all ranking officers on that group, from a colonel to lieutenants, and he's the only sergeant, and he's in charge of the group. So I think that's a pretty good thing to get them all to march. So thank you for all doing what you do. I do want to welcome everybody to Fairhope, to the state of the city. The city is in great shape, and we have a great council behind me that you can see that makes things a whole lot easier when we all work together. Because when they're positive, moving things forward, the citizens get behind them, and then, of course, we do disagree from time to time, but it takes a team to make this city for what it is, and I'd like to say thank you to the city council. I have some city staff people, I believe, sitting around. If y'all would stand and be recognized, because without them, we couldn't get anything done. Well, I'll get into the numbers and get the financials going first. And James Gillespie, who will be helping me, is my general superintendent. He's hiding somewhere, but he's going to flip a chart onto the finances. Deborah Smith, who's in the back, who just was recognized, took over for Nancy Wilson this past year. Nancy Wilson was our treasurer, and she retired and moved to Montgomery, and we're so glad to have Deborah Smith taking over in her place. The general fund, as you can see, we had total revenues of about $65 million and expenses about $58, with an excess in revenues of about $7 million, which is a very positive year for the city. The general fund balance, when I took office so many years ago in 2000, we were right at about $2,000. So you see we've grown that general fund quite remarkably over the last 15, 16 years, and that's a tribute to a lot of dedicated, hardworking people. One item I would mention that's not on the slide is the general fund expenses. Government gets a bad rap about spending a lot of money, and we do spend a lot of money. But this past year, we actually were budgeted a little over $21 million in actual generation of government, and we came under expenses some $407,000, which is almost a 2% reduction in what the council authorized me to spend to run government. So I think we work hard together. Just because we budget it doesn't mean we spend it. And so I think that's a tribute to the council and the dedicated staff that we have in the room. Cash for the year, we're actually down a little bit from last year, but we've been doing a lot of positive things with money, and one of the things that we did this past year was finish up the construction of our sewer plant, which was another $4 million that we used. Total of $12 million to build and upgrade the sewer plant. And so we used cash that we had, and when you look at capital projects, which is the next slide, we spent a lot of money in the last 3 years. And out of that, we had $8 million the previous council had borrowed to go towards the sewer plant. And we borrowed $5 million to buy the 100 acres of parkland that we had to the north. So with that even happening, you see we were able to do a lot, $41 million of capital improvements, with really only borrowing an additional $5 million. And we're retiring that debt at $1 million a year. So we're really on track to be positive, because our goal was with this new council was to be debt-free, and we're still working on a plan to be debt-free by 2019. It'll be a little difficult, but I think we can get there. And what that means to the citizens of Fairhope is a total savings of interest payments a little over $2.8 million. And to even go in a little bit further, when this council took office, our debt payments, interest and principals together on the general government was $1.3 million, and this year the debt service is only around $800,000. Those are true savings by paying off debt and not having to deal with that money every year. With that, we still have a AA+ Standards & Poor rating, and our net worth in the city is $135 million. And with all that said, I hope when we get a little further in the next year or so, we can start talking about maybe cutting some of the sales tax monies. I know that'll be a pretty good debate, but I think we ought to at least look at it and decide, do we really need all that money if we're able to have these positive things in government? Because I get worried the more money we give government, the more ways they figure out spending it. American Bloom this past year is a national award that we were able to be recognized. In 2002, right after I became mayor, we had submitted for the American in Bloom competition, and we were recognized as the best in the country in our category of a city. Then we waited till 2015 to see if we've gotten any better, backed up, or maybe hadn't done as well. But we were recognized once again, not only for that, but also for a project we undertook, which was Knoll Park. As you can probably recall, we had a lot of discussion what Knoll Park should look like and what we should do. And the compromise was we landscaped the perimeter and we kept the interior natural and preserving the the longleaf pines that are in the middle. And with that, they recognized us as a national award for that preservation of the longleaf pines, which shows you that when you work together, you can find a solution and then be recognized for it nationally. This April 7th and the 8th, we have one of the founders of the American in Bloom, who's also part of the American Horticulture Society, who I met some 30 years ago, who ran all Disney horticulture. She's coming to Fairhope to help us to speak to our master gardeners, our garden clubs, because I want some more involvement with our citizens to make sure our beautification program grows. Because a lot of times you get used to the flowers and what all we're doing, you take it for granted. And I think it'd be good to bring somebody in and really talk about it. And she's going to be here for those 2 days. And I hope people will take time when we have the meetings with her to come and find out what other people are doing around the country. And why I'm talking about the American in Bloom, Jennifer Fiddler, who's in the back, and Paul Merchant. Paul Merchant has taken over a lot of the landscaping responsibilities from Jennifer, but between the two of them, those are the two that you need to thank when you see them on the street for all the flowers, the trees, and everything that's happening. Those two work very hard to make things really look nice. Our sewer plant. We've been talking about it for years. We finally finished it. We're going to have a ribbon cutting here shortly, but we never seem to get all the council together where we can actually have a ribbon cutting, so I wanted to make sure that we brag about it a little bit. With all the improvements we actually made, it'll keep us in place for at least another 15 years before we have to make some decisions about how we grow. And with that, 10% increase in flow is what we had over the last 10 years. But the worst part about it, with all the new environmentally type toilets and saving water and so we don't waste water, it increased the BOD, or the potent part of the sewer, so you can imagine it's more toxic when it comes to the sewer plant. So when it all came, it actually grew at 50%. That's the reason why we had to do all what we had to do the improvements. And our goal when we did all this wasn't just to meet the current EPA and all the environmental standards. We wanted to show the rest of the Mobile Bay sewer plant operators that you can do better and we can be cleaner. So our goal was to be cleaner than anybody else, and this council stepped forward and made that happen. And I'd like to say thank you to the council for making sure our environment and our bay is clean. The goal, as I stated, was to make it cleaner. But the other thing was, I was very happy. We came in at about 15% under budget. And we actually, when we awarded the bid, we actually saved another $100,000. So that didn't come just happening. That came with teamwork, working together. This year, the council appropriated another $400,000 to start working on the collection systems that we have, because the sewer plant is only as good as how we get it there. And I'm tired of reading in the paper that we have an overflow or a lift station break or something happening. I think we can do better. And so with that, we're going to start filming and finding out where we have problems and fixing them as we move forward. And this council also appropriated another $200,000 to put monitoring devices on all the lift stations. So we'll know immediately if there's something wrong, from the motor not working to something not happening. So we're actually going to be working forward with that. Jimmy Cluster with the electric department, who just took over for not Aaron Norris, Scott Sly. You can say I go back too far. Who moved on to another location. Jimmy Cluster's been with us some 29 years. With that, Jimmy Cluster and I are on a solar park panel where we're actually going to look at creating more solar, or having solar available for our citizens in Fairhope. We're actually going to have a demonstration plot put on our plant up in Sylacauga where we can learn the pluses and the minuses. So if this is something our citizens want to do to help with the environment and also keep our utility bills cheaper, we're going to make sure we can have a solar system available for our citizens, and everybody will pay into this solar system, so it won't be all government paying for it. Everybody will chip in. But the end result is a cleaner fuel and be able to do it, and it's being done all over the country. So I wanted to make sure we were one of the first moving forward. And Jack Burrell, who's been pushing this for the last 3 years, I think we finally heard him, and so we're trying to move this forward. So Jimmy and Cluster and I are with another group from around the state. And I can't go without saying the gas department. They put in about 7.5 miles of new gas mains around the county, so that system keeps growing. For those that don't know, the gas system comes from Bay Minette all the way south. That's how large our gas system is. Moving on to paving and traffic and all the other crazy things we have going on. You're probably tired of going around and the things we're having to deal with. But bear with us, another couple of months, we should be through a lot of the resurfacing projects. Fairhope Avenue is getting about finished. We widened the road, and we're actually we'll be working with the county, putting in a traffic circle at the intersection of 13 and Fairhope Avenue. It was either that or put a traffic signal up. And if you talk to the police chief, we have more serious accidents of people running red lights or running stop signs. And so a traffic circle, the worst it can have, you sideswipe somebody. So, and then somebody made the comment, you got Mike Ford, that might get lost on it and go round and around and not figure out how to get out. But it is a different thing. But we will move forward. And with that, the city is hopefully be approving a contract in the next week or so of another $1.2 million worth of resurfacing projects to take care of our other major arteries we have. Gayfer, South Mobile, Ingleside, and I can go on and on. The other is parking lots. Everybody knows how difficult it is to find a place to park in downtown Fairhope. So part of that is we're going to resurface the parking lot at Masonic, restripe it. That's behind the Masonic Lodge over there by the park. Also, we're going to partner with the Arts Center and redo that parking lot so that people can park there when we have other activities downtown. And then we're going to work with the Single Tax Corporation to create a new parking lot behind the library. We have a lot of our seniors that love to go to the library with Faulkner and so forth. It's sometimes hard to get there to find a place to park, so we're going to add that parking. And with that said, we're actually bringing in a speaker and a consultant paid for by our MPO, which is our Metropolitan Planning Organization on the Eastern Shore, who will work with all the stakeholders. And we're going to have that meeting, should be sometime around the end of April, and so be looking at when that happens. But we want to figure out how to get more people using the parking deck and how we can be more efficient with our parking in downtown Fairhope. And we've been talking about it for about 10 or 15 years. Now it's time to make something happen. We have a very active community. And with that happens is a lot of recreational programs. As you know, we took on a major undertaking with our soccer complex. That is moving full steam ahead. And hopefully this summer we'll be playing, if the rain holds and we're able to finish up, we actually be playing on the fields this summer. Recreation also is looking, a recreation committee or board, if we have it, will be making a recommendation to the council probably within the next 2 weeks as to how we're going to go forward with our tennis. We got the bids in on building 6 new courts. The discussion is the types of courts. We got hydro types and then asphalt types of courts. And so they're deciding on what's best for the needs of the community, and I look for that to come forward within the next 2 weeks. The Recreation Department is working with the Rec Board to come up with a 5-year plan. So if there's something that we're not doing with recreation, please make sure you let us know so we can at least address it and move forward. Because I believe a healthy community is only if you stay active, and we want to make sure that continues. And I have to put a little note in here thanking the Fairhope Rotary Club. They actually gave us a little over $20,000 about 2 weeks ago to buy new playground equipment for up at the boys' baseball field. And that's great when you see the civic groups giving money to the city. And also the Kiwanis is actually taking over the little park on Fells Avenue. So we're moving forward. And the last thing we just partnered with was the boys' baseball field. You probably saw a new scoreboard up there. Well, the city kicked in a little bit, the baseball kicked in some, the booster clubs so everybody gave a little something so we could actually replace that scoreboard. And that's a positive thing for our community. The beachfront park. Like this past budget cycle, the council decided that we were tired, especially Rich Mueller, who was the one that brought it to everybody's attention, that somebody was going to get hurt with the old concrete benches we had down there, and just surely we could do better. So the council appropriated another $50,000 to buy new equipment, new picnic tables, and actually make it a more of an attractive place. And with that, we're actually resurfacing the drive-through there, which hasn't been done in over 25 years. So you'll be seeing all those improvements coming up, and the 2 restroom facilities. We're actually going to fix those. I have to get those numbers back to the council. They asked us to research it, find out what it will take to be handicap accessible, but also make them something that's Fairhope and not the restrooms that are down there today. So that's coming. Planning for the future. Now this is going to be an expensive proposition, but if we don't start thinking about it, it's not going to happen. We've outgrown City Hall. In fact, you've probably seen a number of the areas roped off on this building. The bricks actually came loose and fell down at the south end of the building. The construction engineer says the rest of the building is getting unsafe. So we're going to have to start looking at what to do with this building. For those that don't know, it used to be an old shopping center. In fact, where we're sitting here today was a grocery store. This was at one time. And so all we did was did a little cosmetic and moved in. But with that said, since 1960, the structure is starting to get a little old, and we're going to have to do something with it. My little project that I've been wanting to do for forever is a performing arts facility. And where we put that, maybe we can, in conjunction with what we're going to do, but I think that arts is what we're about in Fairhope. And I think we can figure out how to make that happen. In 2000, I had 3 goals. That was a rec center, a new library, and performing arts facility. We've done 2. We hadn't quite got the 3rd one yet. But I think it'd be great when we have the dogwood pageants up on a nice performing facility where they can perform, and those young women have a really nice place to perform. Not only to say the Baldwin Pops, I mean, we have so many groups that need a place to actually perform. Our parks. As you know, we bought the 100 acres to the north, and we haven't done anything with it. I really hadn't pushed it because I really wanted to pay off the $5 million before we started getting involved with what we wanted to do. And that'll be done within the next 2 years. In the meantime, I'd like to form a committee of citizens to look at the park, and not only that park, but the 40 acres the single tax just gave us over on 44 and 13. So we've actually got 140 acres more to use for parklands for the citizens. But I think that, the city council, we can up there and debate back and forth what we think. But I think it's important to form a citizens committee, work together, and see how we can keep those parks natural and be able to use for the future generations. And hopefully we can put that together, working with the council and other citizens to make a plan to what we can do with that parkland as we move forward. Because if we don't plan, it won't happen. And I'd love to see something positive happen. I want to make sure we have a conservation easement put on the park land to the north, because if we don't, I guarantee you 20, 30 years from now, somebody will put a lot of money on the table and show the council how they can make all this money by developing that parkland. And that'd be a shame after what we've tried to create and have more parkland, because that's what we're about, is parks and green space. And it's interesting because I go around every year and visit with the school kids. And those probably don't know, but I make an effort to meet with all the class leaders of all the grades from kindergarten all the way up through the seniors. And you'd be surprised the things that they bring forward and tell you about stuff. And this year, they were really focused on recycling. They thought that we didn't do a good enough job and we need to do a better job. They didn't like that we only had one day a year for cleanup, like the coastal cleanup. We ought to figure out a better way of cleaning up and putting out more trash receptacles where people walk. And this is the kids telling me this now. So if they're telling me that, I can only imagine what the parents think. So we have to do a better job in working forward. But with that, they brought up that they wanted to see art competitions. I said, art competitions? I said, Mayor, we have a great job when we recognize all the athletes and we do all the other things. What about the kids that are in the arts? Why don't we have some other programs that recognize those children? And so that came forward. So that's a great idea that we need to figure out how we can do that and incorporate that, not only be a great athlete, but some people are very good artists and performers, and that'd be something we can move forward. And so as we move forward, I'm going to have to work a little harder with these young people, because I can tell you that we got to make that happen. Let's see. And then this past year, I'm almost finished, so I don't talk too long. I get to pick an employee of the year, and this past year, I picked a young man by the name of Tim Manuel. Tim Manuel, for those that don't know, runs our sewer plant. And he was the one right in the midst of everything we had to do down there, along with Dan McCory, his supervisor, to make sure that we had a great sewer plant and everything transitioned. So when you see Tim Manuel, tell him thank you. We had a press release, I think, during the year, but I always like to let everybody know who that is during this day, because a lot of times it gets kind of, oh, well, they might have seen it or didn't see it. But he's also very active with baseball, and he does a lot of other volunteer, and it's what makes him a special city staff person is not only does he work hard for what he does, but he also gives back by volunteering with our kids. Now my fun part. Every year I get to pick I think, a volunteer of the year. And it gets harder and harder because I see so many great people. But this year I picked Joanne Broadus. And one of the fun things I get to do as mayor, I get to go to the dogwood pageants every year. And for 16 years I've went and watched, and I'm just amazed because she has, not only is she up there running the show, she's got the whole family up there. And it just keeps going, and it gets better every year. I can only imagine when I was 15 years old competing on stage and doing the things these young women do. But it takes somebody behind. They start in October figuring out how they're going to do these performances, and they don't do it till January. That's how much dedication these 1,000+ girls that she touched over these last years that she's been involved. But let me give you a little history about her. I'm not going to say everything because it would go on all day. Joanne is a retired nurse practitioner and educator. Broadus was director of the Dogwood Trail Maze program on the Eastern Shore for 22 years, touching the lives of more than 100, but I moved it up to 1,000 because 100 are the ones that actually win, but 1,000 girls is how many compete every year. Of sustaining a legacy of what she refers to as the fabric of our neighborhoods. Sponsored by the Eastern Shore Optimist Club, and now in its 56th year, the program consists of annual pageant held for the selection of 6 members to the court of the Eastern Shore High School females who serve one term as a leader and ambassador for the community. It is a true pleasure for me to ask Joanne for this award because her sheer energy for the program and her dedication she puts into the lives of these young women is nothing short of amazing. It's such a positive experience for them, one they'll remember the rest of their lives. We are very appreciated that Joanne has put in so much passion into the program to serve her community in the way she does. She's an example to follow. A Grand Bay native, graduate of the University of Alabama with a degree in nursing, returning to Mobile to raise her family, following, I'm running out of spots here, following engagements in teaching nursing in the field of OBGYN, and I have to put a plug in there because my daughter became a OBGYN doctor, so I know that you've touched on, but anyways, working there. She not only did that for 40 years teaching with child health, and she had a master's degree, and it goes on, but she was also department head at the University of South Alabama for 10 years before she retired, and her certification as a family nurse practitioner and development created and implemented the nurse practitioner program. In other words, she created it at South Alabama. I mean, just think. And I mean, I could go on because I have about 4 pages of things. But with that, I want to bring Joanne up because she does want to say a few words, because the Dogwood pageant, I don't think would be where it is today if it wasn't for Joanne and making it happen, because I know others are involved, but it takes a leader to make it happen. And Joanne, I just want to say thank you. For your commitment and dedication to our community for volunteerism.
Oh, how nice is that? Great. I just have a few words to say. I would like for the Dogwood Trail Court to come back up here and stand by me. So while they're coming, it is very much an honor to be recognized as Volunteer of the Year by the city of Fairhope. I would like to personally express my thanks to the city of Fairhope for the untiring support that they give to the Dogwood Trail program. I am continually amazed by the tremendous level of support from the entire Eastern Shore. The committee and myself take great pride in being an active part of this wonderful place that we call home. I'd like to right now recognize the committee members because no man is an island, and no one can get one single job done without a very, very productive committee. So they're sitting over here. I would like all of you all to stand up, including our new Dogwood Trail Court that will be introduced at the Arts and Crafts Festival. So these are some of the committee members, and Gene, you need to stand up also. He does all of our finance, so finance is a very, very important part of our program, because these dresses that you see, the Optimist Club affords these for these girls, so it's not any expense to them. So we're very, very proud of the fact that we do Christmas trees, we do Belk Charity, we do fundraisers all the time to get the money. And we go to Washington, D.C., a full paid trip for 2 courts. They go twice. And this year we're going again in April the 16th. They're going to participate in the National Cherry Blossom Festival. So we're really proud of all the opportunities that is afforded these young women, and their investment into their future is actually what it is. So anyway, the 6 Dogwood Court members welcome visitors to the Eastern Shore with history and hoopla. That's a good word, hoopla. If it's happening on the Eastern Shore and elsewhere, the Dogwood Trail Court is there welcoming visitors to the area like a cheerful pastel rainbow. And don't they look like a rainbow? There is something about their smiling faces and the sweet innocence of the ruffles-covered period costumes that our visitors admire and adore in these girls. You'd be surprised what visitors that come from all over this country say they've never seen anything quite like this. So we're very proud of our girls. They are a charming reminder of the past, but being a Dogwood Trail Court member hasn't lost any of its cachet over the past years. I must say the most important thing about being involved in this program is that we see these young women as they are being shaped and molded toward their own future, and we have a chance to be a part of that. So it's really, really very, very important to me and the committee members to watch these young girls grow. And in the history of the Dogwood, in the 56 years, our court members are doctors, lawyers, engineers, building contractors, nurses, teachers. And we even had, in 1974, Regina Benjamin, the U.S. Surgeon General, was one of our participants, made the 10 finalists, but I hate to say she flubbed up her question and didn't win. So anyway, we have a rich history of involvement in our neighborhood, and we love everything we do. So thank you, girls. Oh, and I don't like to call them girls, but I do it all the time. I say these young women are moving to the next area of their lives, and they're no longer girls. But we all call them girls. But anyway, we got to get over that. We got to call them young women. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
As you can tell, our city is really in great shape, and I'm just proud to be part of it, and I want to once again thank for everybody who came today. And as we move forward, we just all need to remember that our city, and we need to always try to not be to get by, but do the best we can to be quality and work to have quality, because if we don't, it's not going to happen. So again, thank you, council, and thank you, everybody, for coming. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Laura.
Thank you, Mayor. There will be a question and answer session after the program this afternoon. You'll find paper and pens on your table if you'd like to jot down a question for the mayor. First, though, I would like to have the pleasure of honoring our Quality of Life Award winner for 2015. Fairhope First is a community service organization that supports the State of the City address, as well as awards the Quality of Life Award. Similar to Mayor's Volunteer of the Award, the Quality of Life Award is given to a citizen who has gone above and beyond. And we are very proud today to honor Gay Lindsay. Gay Lindsay left quite a large mark on Fairhope, particularly one weekend in November. Thanks to an idea and leadership efforts from Fairhope artist Gay Lindsay, thousands of bright red clay poppies bloomed around the Fairhope Veterans Memorial for Veterans Day. She worked with several hundred volunteers of all ages, many who had no prior experience in creating art with clay. And with the support of the Eastern Shore Art Association, Gay Lindsay oversaw the production of over 3,000 clay poppies, glazed and mounted on iron stems for the display titled Poppies for Veterans, Symbols of Sacrifice. In addition to time spent supervising the poppy-making sessions, Lindsay spent countless hours talking to organizations and news media outlets to raise funds and awareness of the project. All proceeds from the sale of the poppies go to support local veterans. Funds will be distributed through the Alabama State Veterans Memorial Cemetery at Spanish Fort Foundation. Any local veteran organization is invited to nominate a project or person to receive help. Lindsay says that the many volunteers who helped are the ones who deserve the real recognition. She is honored, but claims she is just the catalyst, and that's another good sign of a Quality of Life Award winner or a volunteer winner when they tend to give the credit to someone else. Gay has been a resident of Fairhope since 2007, grew up in Bay Minette, and graduated from Baldwin County High School. She got her BS degree in mathematics from Furman University and her MA from the University of Virginia. She taught high school math for 9 years before becoming a computer system analyst at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. In 1996, she became a disbursement officer at the World Bank, managing the financial aspects of the bank's loans to Southeast Asian countries. In Fairhope, she's been on the board of the Weeks Bay Foundation, has volunteered for the Alabama Coastal Bird Fest, and is currently on the board of the Eastern Shore Art Center. She even drives Meals on Wheels for Ecumenical Ministries, enjoys traveling, bird watching, and pottery in her spare time. May we please introduce and honor Gay Lindsay as the 2015 Quality of Life Award winner. Gay?
I would like to say everybody who volunteered or worked on this project for poppies in one way or another, please stand up. These are the people who made it go, made it work. I mean, it was just phenomenal how people showed up out of thin air practically. And it was such an amazing community experience that without them, it would not have been as anywhere near what it was. And I particularly want to thank the Art Center and Kate for allowing us to do it and disrupt their entire lives for almost a year. And we're still bothering them, and there's still poppies for sale, ladies and gentlemen. They're multiplying in the dark, I swear. But so if anybody still wants more poppies, there are plenty of them at the Art Center. And we have collected so far about almost $43,000 for the veterans. And there will be, some more money coming in. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Gay. At this time, please raise your hand with your little white piece of paper if you have any questions that you wanted to address to the mayor. And Miss Sherry Sullivan will come by and gather them up. And please stay after the program. We have refreshments. Fairhope First also has Fairhope First t-shirts and one hat left. And then the famous Fairhope tags that you see on vehicles around town. That was a project of Fairhope First many years ago. The shirts, the tags, and the hats are only $10. And a table to my right, and you can buy them there and learn more about Fairhope First if you would like to become a member. Do we have any questions, Sherry? Anyone else? Just raise your hand and Sherry will come by. Mr. Mayor, since golf is shown as a line item for expenses, why is there not a line item for golf revenue?
I believe there is. I don't know why it's not, but I'll have to look into it. But it just as a note, the golf course actually breaks even as far as day-to-day operations. If we had to charge for the capital, we probably would not be making money in golf. But it's like any other amenity we have. We have a library, we have rec centers, we have a lot of buildings that we provide for our community. But I thought it was on the list. I don't have the list in front of me. If it's not, I will be glad to let you know what the revenue and expenses were for the golf.
Mr. Mayor, what surface do you plan to use for cover on the soccer field?
Well, there'll be a grass, but no, I forget which. Yeah, 419 Bermuda, I think, is the same as we have on the play surface as the Valana football field. That's done well for us. I know there was another type of grass we were looking at. The problem with that other grass, there's only one vendor, and I believe in getting competition to keep the price down. That's why we went with 419.
Mr. Mayor, tell us more about the city's contributions to the operations of Baldwin County schools.
As of right now, the city of Fairhope has been very generous in writing a check for $350,000 a year to the schools, and we do those in the form of grants. We also, with in-kind service and so forth, is about $500,000 because the football field, the baseball field, the current soccer area, the girls softball are all on city property and city maintained. So we've always had a great partnership with the schools over the years. There's been a debate of what we're moving forward with. The council wants to be assured the monies we're spending are going to make things better, and that's kind of where we are in the direction. You've probably seen the debate about where we're at or where we're not. But hopefully, we'll make sure our schools and the feeder pattern schools are the best they can be. I believe there was another question in the back, Sherry.
Mr. Mayor, are there monies dedicated to a rainy day fund?
The rainy day fund. We do have a rainy day fund. It's currently at $7 million. Our treasurer and us are looking at possibly coming up with a recommendation to get to the council as to how that should grow. We currently have that in place for, I think, 2 months worth of operations. And whatever that number is, we'd like to get a policy and approved by the city council. As we grow, we should be increasing at $7 million. It's been sitting at $7 million for the last 4 years.
Thank you, Mayor. Any more questions? Thank you so much for joining us and being here for the State of the City address. Thank you, Mayor Kent. Did you have anything else you would like to say?
The income for the golf course was mixed in with charges for services. So I guess next year we can pull that out so it'll be a little clearer. As you can tell, we have a lot of different monies we gather, but that's where all that money goes. I think that's it. And don't forget to buy a Christmas tree from the Optimist this year because we need all the money we can to keep it going. Thanks again.
Thank you for coming. Please enjoy refreshments before you leave.